Hattie and I moved to West Orange in 1975. One of the amendments to the Shul Constitution is we created term limits. And this is a way of fostering turnover so that young people will have an opportunity to step into the, shoes of the older generation. I personally have reached my term limit and came off the board. I still volunteer for various things that the president asked me to do and board leadership asked me to do. But it really is important for young people to get much more involved. And I think that's going to be one of the keys to future success of the synagogue. I come from a yeshiva that teaches Ivrit b'Ivrit and teaches Nusach Sfardit. And here I was being president of congregation Ahawas Achim B'nai Jacob and David. So I decided the board ought to start a process and ultimately get it approved by the membership to change the name of the shul. And I thought it, at a minimum, should be Ahavas Achim B'nai Jacob David, and perhaps even Ahavat Achim B'nai Jacob and David. So I brought that up to the board, and the board was considering it. That Yom Kippur, I was sitting in shul, and the person behind me, who had been a life member of the shul, and whose parents were involved in the shul when it was in Poland, was telling a relative that was sitting next to him in shul that there's some moron who wants to change the name of our shul. Can you believe there's an idiot that wants the shul's name to be changed? I immediately dropped that suggestion, and the name of the shul is still Ahawas Achim B'nai Jacob and David, or as we call it, the Alphabet Shul. During my presidency, many of the people felt that I was the loudest president the shul had ever had. They were appreciative of the fact that they could hear the announcements when I gave them. And I was getting very good at going over the announcements in advance of Shabbos. I'd get them from the shul office, and I'd always throw in a few jokes and speak loudly. Fortunately, one of the jokes I threw in once was about a couple that are close friends of ours who weren't in shul that Shabbos because they were in the Poconos. I described their trip to the Poconos as a second honeymoon, and maybe was a little risque in the way I described it. And when they came home, they heard all about it, and I had to get them flowers from Metropolitan Plant Exchange. So I became known as the president who had to deliver flowers after he would give the announcement. I insisted that the shul begin a parallel minyan. And I thought that was a great idea because Rabbi Marcus, wonderful rabbi, and was a great community leader, but I happened to be the kind of person who I could do without a speech. I suggested that we have another minyan that started 15 minutes later upstairs, and the idea was there would be no speech, so we'd all finish on time. Rabbi Marcus is so devoted to his kehillah that after a few Shabbatot, he decided that it's not nice for the people upstairs not to hear the drasha. So he would come up and speak in both minyanim and was running back and forth between downstairs and upstairs. And then we started to get assistant rabbis and rabbinical interns. And so before I knew it, the wonderful idea of having a parallel minyan upstairs on Shabbat that didn't have a sermon was by the wayside. And so now every week we are enjoying a drasha on Shabbos in the upstairs minyan as well. I think there have been several examples of it over the last few years that have worked out very well. For instance, Yom HaShoah. Another example would be Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaAtzmaut. We do together with other shuls. I think it's both good for those activities to be with a larger part of the community, as well as from a financial standpoint. And as an accountant, I always think of financial. It's a way of spreading costs over a larger group of people. So although I think our shul needs to grow and our shul needs to be dynamic and very, very involved in every aspect of the community, I think the community itself will benefit from shared activity.